I'm Andre Cacciatore, he's Nick Goss, and you feel that chill in the air, Nick? Fall is here, summer's over, it's hockey time. Oh yeah, the puck is going to drop this week, and it's time to preview the NHL. You know, the Pittsburgh Penguins going for their third straight Stanley Cup championship. Hasn't been done since the 1980s, and they're going to have a lot of challenges going into the season. A lot of teams, up-and-coming teams. Who do you see rising and stepping up to give the Pens a challenge?
This is a pretty popular pick, but I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I really like their young core of Austin Matthews, became the first American rookie last year to score 40 goals. I love William Nylander. Mitch Marner is really good as well. They also have Nazem Kadri and James Van Riemsdyk as established veterans who were in their prime. The goal team is pretty good. Frederik Andersen. What I want to see from this team is defensive improvement. I want to see Morgan Riley and Jake Gardiner take another step. But they have great coaching and pretty good special teams as well. Division is not too tough. I see this team on the rise. I think it's too early to talk about them as a Stanley Cup contender, but I like them to make a step forward this year.
Well, I'm going to talk about a couple teams in the NHL, one in the East, one in the West, that last year, great puck possession teams, but they just couldn't get the puck in the net. Those were the Boston Bruins and the Los Angeles Kings. These two teams were at number 1 and number 2 in Corsi for percentage in 5-on-5 situations, but they're dead last in the bottom of the league when it came to shooting percentage. I think that's they're very unlucky teams last year. They both have decent goaltending. They're gonna improve this year. I don't know if they're gonna be Stanley Cup contenders, maybe the Bruins, and you never know, the Kings in the playoffs, they always get hot. But I think they're going to improve, make the playoffs, make deep runs in the playoffs. Now, teams that were good last year but are going to fall off, who you got?
I think the Washington Capitals will be good again this year, but I don't think they'll be elite. 118 points, I don't think they're coming anywhere close to that. I thought the TJ Oshie contract was horrible. 8 years, $46 million for a player who's on the back nine of his career. Shattenkirk's departure in free agency is a tough blow to their blue line. Ovechkin took a lot of heat in the playoffs, even from his own head coach. After blowing it against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Braden Holtby wasn't as good in the playoffs as he's been before, so I just think this team, with those factors and some free agent departures, Carl Alder's gone as well from that blue line, I don't think they have enough to beat Pittsburgh or some of the other teams. Toronto took them to a really tough 6-game first-round series. If they play again, I'm taking Toronto. So the Capitals will be good, but I think their window to win the Stanley Cup is closed.
It's interesting. That'll be 6 times in the Ovechkin era they haven't gotten past the second. They've lost in the second round. It's unbelievable. I'm going to go with the Columbus Blue Jackets, stay in the Metropolitan Division. I think there's a lot of up-and-comers in that division. Carolina, they have a really good front four in their top 4 defense.
Love Carolina.
And Philadelphia, they got some interesting young players. Then they got Nolan Patrick. I see him centering the second line midway through the season. They can make some noise in there. It's just a tough division. Obviously, you got Pittsburgh, Washington. Don't forget the Islanders. I see Columbus taking a step back just because of the division they play in. Now, in June, who's going to be hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup?
I know a lot of people think that in Boston we have June playoffs. It'll be the Celtics. I actually think the Bruins have a shot to make the Stanley Cup.
He's not biased. He's not biased at all.
As Andre likes to talk about ingredients, I think they have all the ingredients. I think Tuukka Rask is an elite goaltender. I think the blue line will be better with Charlie McAvoy and if Torrey Krug is healthy. And they're going to score goals. Pasternak coming off a great year. So is Marchand. They still have Bergeron and Krejci. I think Anders Bjork and Jake DeBrusk can give them some injection of youth and skill in their top 6 as well. I think they're a pretty good team all around. The question will be backup goaltending. They lost a lot of points when Anton Khudobin played last year. If he's more solid for them, I think they'll be better. But the East is wide open for me. Pittsburgh, clearly the favorite, but I don't see any team head and shoulders above the other.
So you have them going to the Cup.
I have the Ducks winning it.
Okay, that's how our lower third says. Yeah.
Right. I think the Ducks are probably the deepest team in the league. They have great veterans. They have a great blue line. Hampus Lindholm, I think, is the most underrated player in the league. Defenseman there. John Gibson is a pretty good goaltender. They should have beat the Predators last season. They did not. The Ducks window is sort of closing, but I think this is it for them, and I think they'll get it done.
It's an interesting pick. You know what? My Stanley Cup champion this year, I'm going with the Dallas Stars, and they will beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Everybody's like, what, Dallas? Really? They didn't even make the playoffs last year. But you know what? Did anybody think the Nashville Predators would make the Stanley Cup last year? Nobody. Did anybody think the San Jose Sharks would make the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago? Nobody. I think Dallas, don't forget, this team a couple years ago was one of the best teams in hockey. Great offensive output. What was their problem last year? They couldn't. They didn't have any goaltending. They finally figured that out. We have Ben Bishop now. They made a change at head coach, Ken Hitchcock. He has a knack for turning teams around. I think he's going to do that. They're going to be middle of the pack in terms of defense. Their scoring will bounce back. They got so many offensive weapons. I think they're going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. You look at the Lightning, they didn't make the playoffs either, but Stamkos only played 17 games. He's back. He'll be healthy. They'll be fine. They tested Pittsburgh 2 years ago in the Eastern Conference Final. I think they're just going to get too tired. It's too hard to do that in this year's NHL. Their bottom six forwards isn't the same as it was last year. I think Tampa Bay will beat them in the conference finals, but then fall to Dallas in the Stanley Cup. That's my pick. And that's Nick Goss. You can follow him at Nick Gossness. And the puck drops this week. Be excited, everyone.